Okay, so you have me tonight because Chris has the man flu. ah, does Jason, when Jason gets the man flu, is he like just that's if you even get the flu? I mean, honestly, Chris is such a baby. It's all gone through the family, and everyone else has coped okay, but he's just like, I can't cope. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. All right, let's start off in the chat box. Pop in the chat box, or if you want to come off mute, sharing wins. And we love to start with wins because it's just getting our brain and our neural pathways connected towards what we want rather than what we don't want. So we can start seeing some pretty cool change, because if we get stuck in what we don't want, even though that is the point of the coaching call as well, then you just get stuck in a cycle of staying the same. So even if it's small, even if it's, I don't know, I turned off my alarm the first time it went off. Chat. I think this is for Jen. Chat down the little bottom, the icon. Yep, cool. Or you can come off mute if it's easier. Tracy R. I think I have mild man flu, but my supplements are keeping me on top of things. Awesome. So you're noticing, as opposed to in the past, if you've got the cold or the flu, you'd kind of crash a bit more. So that's a win. Rach, off camping this week, loving spending time in nature, have been enjoying a range of foods and not having symptoms pop up. Yay! Because I think last week, Rach, I think there was an issue with that. It's like, or the stuckness was, just love to be able to eat the foods and all will be well. So that's awesome. Demi, we're out of limbo. We have direction and it's been so weirdly good in so many other areas. Yeah? Going along, Seston? Got the job? Okay, cool. What are the weirdly good in other areas? Curious. Sarah and Jace, we are doing NSR activities, really cool sensations activity in cold. Oh, yeah. Did you get in? Oh, you are near the beach. Yeah, East Coast. Oh, did you go to the beach? If anyone hasn't got up to this week of sensations, you're like, you don't have to do the beach. You could use like a little bucket of cold water. Okay, if you're still popping in your things, keep going. Tonight, well, actually, we went outside with limited clothing. Cool. Just like undies. Wasn't it last Thursday was the winter solstice? Did anyone do a cold plunge or anything? The longest day of the year? Early days for me. You being here, Jen, is a win. Okay. Now also, again, this is like a non-judgment question. We're not at school, but just in the chat box too, just so I know where everyone's up to in Spark. Just pop like what module or lesson if you can remember that. Because tonight we want to talk about sensations. So this is one of the modules in nervous system regulation. And even if you're not up to that part yet, if you're still in reckoning, totally cool, because this is going to be relevant wherever you're up to. And it's going to change your life forever. So sensations is all about really learning to listen to your body. If you remember in present state lessons, we talked, we listed a bunch of symptoms. So that was from Louise Hay's book. And it's like, oh, if you have this symptom, it could mean this thing. Now that's great as a let's just open the box, let's start the inquiry, let's kind of just feel into that. But when you go through sensations, what you're really doing is it's like, cool, it's great to have those resources to get your brain and like brainstorming. But at the end of the day, we really want to help you to become your own, to create this own interconnected communication system inside of you so that when symptoms pop up, if they ever do, if you get really good at this, you'll start noticing really subtle communication signals before you even get a symptom or pain, which is like awesome. But you just become so in tune with your body that you know exactly what it means. You won't need to come back to us a year time because you're like, oh, this gut thing's flared up again. You'll know, and you'll also know how to take action to address it. You can also reach out for help if you're just like, I'm a little bit stuck. Okay. So when you listen to your body, it's really about reestablishing rapport with yourself. So as you've gone through the reckoning phase and really into the past state and uncovering the deepest root around deeper beliefs that you have that are stuck in the unconscious state, and unkind beliefs you have about yourself, essentially the moment that you started creating those beliefs, which usually happened before the age of 7, you broke rapport with yourself. Like snap, all of a sudden. And so it's no wonder you look around and there's people with health issues and dysfunctional relationships and money issues because it impacts everything. And so then the conscious mind, which is 5% of your mind, 95% is the unconscious. So 5% of our mind is always like it's constantly trying to do the best for us. But if 95% of that still has these unkind beliefs stuck in your system, then it's always pulling you back, sabotaging you, trying to send you signals. And usually that ends up as body burnout and pain because you're just not listening. Your conscious mind is kind of like preoccupied with just trying to get ahead in life. And rather than listening to your body's intelligence. So sensations, so reckoning, like by the time you get to the end of the reckoning, you've kind of like, you've identified how you broke rapport. We could even say what crime you committed. I know that's like kind of intense. It's like, what accusation did you make about yourself that you've been holding for many years and decades? And essentially that's a crime. And then how can you go about restoring your relationship with yourself? And it always starts with an apology first. But life happens. We're humans. It's pretty impossible. I don't think I've ever met a human who has then continued their relationship with their self completely in line and aligned all the time. So when we start using and learning the messages from our body, this is when it's like, oh, symptom popped up, or oh, discomfort in the body, or sometimes that can even be like an emotional thing or an old pattern. These are 98% of the time signals that you've somehow broken rapport with yourself. You've somehow started believing old things, or you said you'd do something and you haven't done it. There's many, we can kind of like dig into all of that later. But I just want to contextualize all of that. Okay, so this whole spark journey essentially is just rebuilding a beautiful relationship with yourself so you truly know who you are and you know how you communicate to yourself. So if you had a massive argument with, say, a partner or a best friend, what would you do to try and rebuild that relationship again? Because it's kind of easy to think about your relationship with yourself because we're sort of like, who even am I? Like my unconscious state, my conscious mind, but there's kind of like two players inside of us. So when we can zoom out or outside of ourselves and just think about a relationship as two people, you and someone else, what would you do? Welcome to come off mute, or you can pop in the chat. If you were going to healthily repair the relationship, because there's unhealthy ways that we can try and do that as well. And while you're writing that, I'm just having a quick read of the chat box to see where everyone's at. Oh, yeah, cool, Demi. Just feel like I'm out of the fog doing things again. It's just like, bing, Life is flowing. Awesome. Awesome. You guys are doing so good plugging through Spark stuff. We have been reading everything, by the way. If we haven't replied to every single thing, we are reading everything. Okay, apologize. I would find a way to apologize. I'd fix it. Like, how would you fix it? Speak with the person, apologize, see what needs are being unmet and how we feel best to connect again. Yeah, cool, awesome. Okay, great. So we're actually going to use quite a lot of these principles to, just in the same way that you might make amends with someone else, you're doing the same thing with yourself, and it can feel a bit weird and kind of creepy initially. It's just like I just sit down with myself and have a conversation. Yeah, you actually do. Okay, awesome. Awesome. So if we think about our own relationship with ourselves as a metaphor for a relationship you have in real life with someone else, this will just help you kind of like understand what we're trying to do here. Okay, so I'm going to pop in symptoms. Yes, I'm just popping in a handout which I've actually just uploaded to the second day of sensations, because this has 5 steps for how to really understand the symptoms that are coming from your body, and then also how to establish or reestablish or rebuild rapport with yourself. And I created that because over the course of the week of sensations, it takes you through these steps, but I thought it would be really handy just to have it on a one or a 2-page document as well, so you can kind of see how it all fits together. Okay. So let me screen share. Don't get too caught up in the words. Like, you can have a read of all of it later. I'm kind of just pulling this up more so just so you can see the headings. So feel what you feel, communicate with the symptoms, be thankful, 4-step apology, and follow through, which I think you could probably look at the things in the chat box. They're all kind of pretty much similar in some sort of way to how you'd make amends with someone that you love that you've hurt. Okay. So feel what you feel. So what's your current go-to response and you might be in different parts of your journey. So people who haven't really felt any relief yet of their symptoms. So if your symptoms are still chronic almost every day, how do you feel about that when you wake up and you're like, oh, it's still there? Or if you're further along in the journey and you're actually like, gee, there's some days, even weeks, that I'm completely symptom free and feeling awesome, but far out, that thing has just flared up again. What's your first reaction when that happens? Why? Ooh, right. That's a great question. And I know that you're in that headspace now because we have conversations about this a lot. Vicky, I blame myself. Yeah, okay. Can you give a little bit more context? Like, you feel like you actually kind of caused it? Want to try harder, disappointed for doing something wrong or forgetting to do something I should have. Yeah, okay. So there's like guilt and shame, kind of like, oh, feeling a thing. It doesn't feel good. It's all my fault. Tracy, yeah, I think, what an idiot. Why did I have that or drink that? Okay, yeah. So if it's kind of triggered by a food or a drink and then big symptom flare up, to tell you the truth, if I get if I have a signal come up that's clearly trying to tell me something, I call it a signal now rather than a symptom. It's just like, warning signal. I'm like, I hate you, but I love you. It's almost like sometimes Chris and I don't actually have like a huge argument or something, but one of us have just broken rapport with the other person, and then the air feels different or the look is different, and it's just like, ugh, it's not my fault, it's your fault. Okay, so it's not a natural, normal, maybe even healthy response to be like, oh yay, thank you, symptom, you're here again, woohoo. So you can't really control the first thought that pops into your head, but you can always control whether you agree with it or not. So even though my first reaction will be usually something negative, it's like, ah. And I mean, this hasn't happened for a long time, and I'll talk about specific signals soon, but one of mine was heartburn. If I'd broken rapport with myself, it was just like spot on every time. And when it was flaring up, and then I have periods of like just bliss, digestive, like, oh, it just feels amazing. And then I'll have another day where it's just like, meh. I would always be like, oh, I hate you, so frustrating. And yeah, actually I would say there was a bit of like blame. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that thing. Or even when I learned about this being a communication from my unconscious state, I was even like, what did I do this time? Oh, I should have been better. So all of that's pretty natural and normal, but then do you agree with it? So if these thoughts are popping up, then the reframing is, okay, yeah, cool, I felt the thing, but do I believe that? Oh no, it's here. It's here for a reason. Let's just learn from it. So then I'd zoom out and step back, and it's like, okay, why are you here? Symptom, I love you. And then I just gave it a lot of love, because imagine if you were trying to like make amends with someone else, if you're just like, ugh, you're so annoying, I hate you, I don't want to like hear anything. No, you got to listen to me. The other person's just going to like go away, or they're going to cause you more harm or hurt. So if you're constantly doing that feedback loop to your own body, then it's not going to stop. It's probably, or sometimes it does, because we might medicate it with something, or I don't know, do something else to manage it, but it will pop up in some other way. So it's like, feel the thing, even if it's frustration, shame, blame, whatever, but then zoom out, and it's just like, you're here for a reason and I'm ready to listen. Okay? How does that feel? You can be honest too if you're just like, that sounds crap. Okay. It makes sense. Awesome. And it really does when you start thinking about, oh, well, I wouldn't treat someone I really love, that I've hurt, that I want to make amends with, like that. But holy crap, if I'm really being honest with myself, I'm kind of doing that to myself, and I'm not stopping. And so when you see it as more of a metaphor, it's just like, okay. It's good to accept it. Yes, accept it for what it is. It makes sense. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so communicate with symptoms. Okay, let me move me. I'll leave that one up for a bit, because they're just some really great questions. So if the symptom or pain is present, like literally, this is the thing. These things can be simple. When you're willing, you'll know. So when you're willing to know why you have the symptoms that you have with 100% certainty, taking full responsibility of them, you will know. And a lot of the times like last week, we were talking about language that is above or below the line, if you can remember that. And the below the line stuff was kind of like stuck in victim mode or head in the sand type stuff. And sometimes we treat our symptoms like that. They just feel mysterious. It's like, oh, I don't know. Oh, it's always there. Maybe it's genetics. And then you get stuck in Dr. Google, and it just becomes really confusing. But it doesn't have to be. Like, as soon as you just take the handbrake and just say, I'm willing to know, because I'm rebuilding my relationship with you, which also means I trust you and you trust me, and I love you and you love me. So just tell me, like, why is it there? Why is it there? And sometimes you may need to have a coaching like session as well. So if you have sessions with me or Chris and you're really struggling with this, sometimes it is easier for someone else to come in and coach you, because a lot of the times there's blind spots and your unconscious state is just like, meh, we won't let them know about that yet, even though I'm sending this really strong, painful signal. But let's just pretend that we don't know, because it's easier to not do anything about it. Okay, so sit with yourself. What is it for? What are you trying to tell me? How did I break rapport with myself? And this is usually a really big one. How did I break rapport with myself? What is the intention behind the symptom? And yeah, if you're willing, you'll know. And I do find a lot of the times people, me included, when I started doing this work, was, why are you there, symptom? Why are you there? And I'd always just immediately go to something physical. I ate the food, or even something like, oh yeah, I was a bit stressed, which is fine, because you know you're still getting learnings and wisdom from your body, and maybe you're having too much McDonald's and your body's just like, this is just plastic, I can't digest it. We can do better than this. But for me, it was stuff like tomato and chocolate, like healthy vegan chocolate, and spicy foods. You know, like a healthy body should be able to eat that sort of stuff. But my mind just kept going to those things initially. It's just like, oh yeah, I just have to eat low histamine for the rest of my life. Hang on, I don't want to do that. That's not healthy. So when you're sitting with yourself, really just try and dig deeper below the physical, because our unconscious state verbalizes or communicates to us through symbols. And the easiest way for it to get our attention is through pain, like physical pain. So there's usually almost always something deeper underneath that. I mean, if someone stabbed you with a knife, then it's like, yeah, that's physical. But a lot of the times with like chronic body burnout symptoms, it's something deeper. So in the chat box, don't stress if you don't know, but I guess this might be more a question for people who have been doing this work for a while. Do you have any signals that you know as signals when you've broken rapport with yourself? So pop in the chat box if you know, or if you don't know, just question mark. So I'll share some of mine. So big kind of pain, physical symptoms would be heartburn, which is really like a histamine response. Like lower back pain is another one. And then also, and these are more subtle ones, just like chest tightness, or kind of like tightness under my diaphragm type thing. So they're like the physical symptoms. But I've also noticed too that there's some emotional symptoms too, or mental emotional patterns, where I'll start feeling a bit panicked when there's no reason to be. And then it's like, oh, okay. So then I would like sit back and just think, all right, something's going on here. What do I need to know? So Tracy's bloating. Yeah, cool. Actually, Sarah, Jason, tummy pain when I'm feeling helpless. Yes. Yeah. So if you've named that deeper unconscious belief, which I'm sure you're reprogramming, often the pain signal will show up when that wound has been pressed. Absolutely. And sometimes it can be in such subtle ways. If you have a symptom that gets worse with stress, which can only ever be a broken rapport with yourself, like honestly, doesn't matter what's happening around in your world. If you're getting like so stressed and overwhelmed, it's not stress. You've broken rapport with yourself somehow. And I know that a lot of people, symptoms will like onset when they're feeling stressed. So that can be like another clue to think about if you haven't really thought about this too much. Trace lower back pain, negative emotionally. Yeah, kind of just like, ugh, I'm not usually like this, or I'm not always like this. Also, yeah, a signal too is like, oh, it's not always like this, especially when it comes to food. So if there's gut stuff or food related issues, but it's not all the time. It's only sometimes when I eat that thing, but I can eat the other thing on another day and it doesn't happen. They're kind of clues too. Tracy R, heartburn, extreme tiredness in the afternoon. Yeah, cool. I mean, not cool, but cool that it's like so extreme that you can't not listen to it. And headaches, back pain, headaches, panic attacks. Yeah, yep, yep. Okay. Anyone not aware of anything? Rach, heartburn is something I've not been able to get under control, thinking it is a signal. Might be a little bit of a blind spot there. With my heartburn too, I was like some of my signals, if I give you a bit of a time frame, and it's different for everyone, but when I was like intensely doing what you guys are doing in Spark, probably within maybe like 6 weeks, I was able to actually switch on and off the chest tightness, diaphragm tightness pain by apologizing to myself and all that lovely stuff. But the heartburn, histamine intolerant stuff stuck around for about 4.5 months. And it didn't leave until I discovered a blind spot of how I was daily breaking rapport with myself and not trusting my body. So if you've got stuff that you're just like, oh yeah, things have improved, but I've got this one symptom and it's still not going away, especially if you've done quite a bit of like the physical healing side of things, then you're probably missing a bit of a blind spot. And there's something deeper under there that you just aren't yet aware of. Nicole, when I have a loss of control of my mood becomes negative, loss of patience, bloating and heartburn and tiredness. Yeah. Demi, I have a lot of could be, but not sure. Yeah, okay. Well, okay. So we all have inner wisdom. We all know, like, I can't tell you what you have because I'm not in your body, but you literally have the power just to like ask yourself, like, do I have a signal? Or if you want a signal, unconscious state, what signal do you want to give me? I'm going to play some music just for 1 minute and just, I do this with my hand on my heart, my hand on my belly, but I mean, you can do it however you want. You can just be like, woo, or you can just sit there silent. But just ask and just trusting your own wisdom that usually it pops up in your head. And it's probably something that you don't want to hear, but when you're willing, you'll know. So I'll just give you just a minute just to ask your body. Play some music. And even as you ask yourself, you might even feel a bit of a twinge in an area of your body, like something not nice, which is great because you've just been told. Anything magical come up? It's okay if it didn't, if you need a bit more time. Vicky, I'm wondering if my low blood sugar events could be a symptom. Highly likely. That would have been a really big symptom for me when I was probably at my worst, was just fainting. It's just like, can't cope with life, which was really like, can't cope with myself. Let's just like black out. Okay. So you might not know. You might know, which is great. You might have a really like, oh yeah, this is definitely it. And if you're not really sure, you just play around with it. It's just like, oh, this thing is here. Sit with yourself. What are you trying to tell me? Have I broken rapport with myself? Just allow whatever to come into your conscious mind, to come into your conscious mind. And then you play with it. It's like, cool, well, what do I need to do to build rapport again with myself? And if it's a pain signal, it will switch off when you do. And that's like the magic of it as well. Like with the heartburn, I had some, probably like many actually after maybe within 3 months. I haven't had any of those signals for maybe the last 6 months. But I had some pretty intense ones where it's just like, it was clearly that I'd broken rapport when I sat with myself, and like simply after I just apologized to myself, and we'll go through like what it actually means to give a heartfelt apology, the symptom switched off in the moment. And then I was just like, holy crap, I'm powerful. It's like, what the heck is happening? This is amazing. So some things to kind of brainstorm too, so to help you understand what the symptoms are telling you. So I usually think about 3 things. So either just like sit with yourself, go for a walk, sit in nature, lie in your bed, and just like heartfelt ask yourself. Sometimes I'll know just by doing that. Sometimes I'll need to be a bit more logical and practical, and I'll do some brain dumping. So I'll grab a piece of paper, I'll just brain dump, what are like 5 to 10 things that are kind of like on my mind, worrying me, or I'm feeling a bit of pressure around, and then I'll just feel into them. And usually there's one that will have a bigger hold over the other ones. And then it's like, okay, cool. Well, let's like work with this one. Does the pain signal turn off when I address the issue? No. Okay. Is it something else? Oh, maybe it's this one. Does the pain signal turn off when I address the issue? Yes, it does. And so you can kind of work through it a bit more systematically like that. And then also, I think it was today, then you can also use NLP processes or meditations or hypnosis, recordings, or in a coaching session where we can actually tap into the unconscious mind and have things come to our mind, usually more as like symbols and objects that may not mean a lot until you start kind of understanding what these objects are. So that was a practice that dropped today. So, I mean, you can even jump in and do it after this call if you want to. Or if there's a brave soul, maybe at the end, I can do it with someone off mute. So you can also see how, because sometimes when you do the recordings, and I would love it if anyone kind of gets stuck with the recordings and they're like, meh, that didn't really do much for me, or, oh, that was a bit weird, or I kind of got stuck at this point. Just pop in the comments, because then there's different ways that you can use the recordings and the practices to actually get the result that you're trying to get. So anyway, just have a little think about that. I just wanted to make sure I go through these 5 steps first, and if there's time and someone wants me to take them through a communicating with symptoms NLP process while everyone's watching, which I think is lovely, because then you can kind of see how you can play with the process as well. Is that like, Jace, you want to, or? Okay. Any questions on communicating with symptoms? Oh, here we go. Demi, I think mine's probably overwhelm. From not a lot. Oh, as in like everything's okay, and then it's like poof. Is that what you mean? Or something small happens and then it's like, this is more overwhelmed than what should be. Yeah, awesome. Trace, I got butterflies in my stomach or a nervous tension around my heart and gut. Okay, there's probably like some sort of symptom related to those areas. Rach, my heartburn is feeling next level tonight. Whoa, is that just after you asked? That's cool. I mean, not cool that it's like bad, but so cool that your body communicates to you like that. Hello, big signal, but you are very right with it being a blind spot. It is something I've been trying to work out, but just cannot figure it out for the life of me. Mine is blank each time. Okay, cool. We can work on that. We have a client who does like one-on-one stuff with us, and she has incredible signals. A lot of hers is histamine intolerance and nausea type things. But the moment that we like uncover what her body is trying to say to her, she gets this intense heartburn and then it disappears. It's almost just like, yep, I'm there, and yep, you have heard me, and awesome. And then it's just like completely gone. And then recently she didn't have that signal, but she just got really forgetful, not brain fog, but all of a sudden she was just like so forgetful. And it just so happened that she started a job that she said that she would not do, but she kind of did it to please someone else, and working with dementia people. And her pain signal is forgetfulness. It's just like, wow, your body's like so smart. I only just talked to her recently, but I'm pretty sure that when I talk to her next, I might even send her a message tonight. Pretty sure that she's remembering like a trooper now, because her communication system is just like so dialed in, and she listens to it and she acts on it. And the more that you do that, then the more the unconscious state is like, cool, I trust you. Like, I trust you to send these sacred messages to you. You're listening to me, you're acting upon them. And so, of course, I'll give you like peace and relief. So cool. Okay, so be thankful. Often when, if you get this real like light bulb moment, it's like, oh, it's that thing. And then you run off and solve it, or maybe you'll run away. Either way. But I think a really important part is just like thanking the symptom for being the amazing signal that it is. And I just give so much awe to my body now. If I have a pain signal show up, I'm just like, of course it's the, annoying. But then it's like, wow, especially when you can turn it off. It's just this magical sacredness of what the body and all the bits and pieces are. It's just like, we are amazing. We are amazing beings, that we have this internal communication system. Like, how awesome is that? So I love myself up, usually after I turn the pain signal off, because it's just like, yay, I'm free of it. But also thank you so much, one, for being there, because then I don't have to try and work out if I'm out of alignment with myself. My body just tells me. And then it's like, cool, okay. And the beautiful thing is, sometimes I've been told by my body to do things that were really scary. Like, I was just like, nah, can't do that. It's like, oh, really? And usually they're small things, but they feel so big for me. Like one time, and I think I've shared it with a few people, the original time my heartburn was just like, I'm going to switch off now because you've seen the blind spot, was around a supplement that I'd been taking for a really long time. So this is like years of heartburn, and also like female hormone issues, and I had done all the physical healing, and I kept taking a female hormone supplement, which is just lovely. But I was taking it for all the wrong reasons. I was taking it because I was scared that if I didn't take it, my skin would break out into pimples. I laugh now talking about it. But it felt scary and real to me because I hadn't addressed, or I had been, but I still fully hadn't reprogrammed this belief of being weak and incapable. And so, yeah, like if I wasn't the vision of health, then what would everyone think about me? They'd think that I'm a dodgy practitioner because I can't even keep myself healthy. And so this is like the narrative in the story that was playing out unconsciously. And by me holding on to the supplement, not only was I it was just like fear-based, but also I wasn't fully trusting my body to function at its best. And so I know that everyone is on supplement protocol, so I'm not saying supplements are bad. I've actually just started it again because of this like mega flu thing that's gone through our family, and my hormones are gone a bit wacky. So I'm totally fine and happy to take it now. It doesn't cause a broken rapport or heartburn. But I was just taking it for the wrong reasons at that point in time. And the moment I decided to stop it, and it was hard, like it's just like, I know what happens when I stop this supplement. My cycle goes wacky and I get pimples. And I was just like, this is really scary. But when I did, magical things happened. And it's just like, wow. And so there's been other experiences too where my body has told me, or my unconscious state has told me to do something that felt scary. But every time you listen to yourself, only beautiful things happen. So good. Okay. 4-step apology. So, well, actually, let's play a game before I go to what it is. What do you think? What do you think? And I might have spoken to it with people in the past. What makes it like an awesome apology? There's 4 things. And this is from our coach and mentor, Jamin Fraser, by the way. I think he made it up, or if he didn't, it's in his book and he got it from somewhere else. Sincerity. Yep. How do you show sincerity? Because you could be like, I sincerely apologize. The end. Is that sincere? Honesty. Yeah. About what? Mean what you say and say what you mean. Cool. Understanding or acknowledging what went wrong. Yeah, awesome. That's actually the very first step. So what? What did I do? Like, what did I do to cause you harm or to break rapport or somehow show you that I'm untrustworthy? So what did I do? What did I do wrong? Because like if someone comes to you, I've done it before. It's like, yeah, I'm really sorry. And then Chris is like, you don't even know what you're saying sorry for. You just know that you hurt me and you're just saying sorry. It's like, yeah, but I am. Like, I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart because I love you. But, that doesn't make people feel heard or acknowledged if you don't even know what you actually did wrong. And so that's where communicating to your body too is like, what did I do? Then you'll know because you get the answer and you just need to be explicit that you know exactly how you broke rapport with yourself. And then that's just building more and more trust because it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, she gets it or he gets it. Okay, great. Cool. So when I send this signal next time, if I need to, they're going to know exactly why and they're going to claim it. Okay, so that's step number 1. What would be 2? So what I did wrong, what might be next? Starts with W also. I think Sarah's got it. No. Damn. Why? Why do you think why would be important? This is also great too. Like you use this 4-step apology in your real life relationships and it's just like all tension disappears immediately. It does work that well. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Ooh yeah. Thinking. Okay. Yeah. Kind of. Okay. So why? Why did I do the thing? So this is what I did. This was the crime that I committed, and this is why I did it. Because if you're saying sorry to someone else, like what you did isn't really enough because people want to know the motive or the intention behind why you actually did it. And sometimes and often, especially if it's broken rapport with yourself or someone else, the why is usually I wasn't 100% like I didn't really know that's below the line. I didn't really know what I did or why I was doing it. But sometimes it can be like sometimes it's naivety. And so then it's like, I really didn't understand that this would hurt you so much. I did it because then this is why. I'm trying to give an example. Okay, last week. Actually, no, we'll go over all 4 and then I'll give you an example of what happened last week and I'll show you how I put it all into practice, if that's helpful. Okay, so number 4 is yes, drag this out because there's some words around like sincerity, understanding, which is all to do with number 3 is empathy. So just like showing this wholehearted empathy towards yourself and how you hurt your unconscious state and conscious mind, and how they were just like banging up or disconnected. And that's, again, the same way that you would be talking to someone else. It's like, I know what I did. This is what I did. This is why I did it. I'm truly sorry. Like, from the bottom of my heart, I can see how much pain this has caused you. This has caused you so much pain. And then number 4, and actively trying to correct the wrong, maybe not second step. Okay. Willingness, all these are great, but number 4 is have you ever had a kid or like even an adult, someone say sorry to you and they didn't accept it? Why would someone usually not accept your apology if they've done the what, why, and empathy? What's a resistance point that someone's like, nah, not trusting you, still not trusting you. Yeah, right. Plan how you can make it up to them and won't do it again. The won't do it again. So number 4 is a believable plan that I won't do it again. Knowing also that we're human beings and that we do and probably will stuff up again. But if you can create a believable plan that you are going to try your hardest to always love yourself, even though you will stuff up, then it's like, cool, the trust is there. Like the love is there, the rapport is there, and it's like, okay, great. So can you see how that, let me pull up that so you can see all 4 of those. Can you see how that would just be such a beautiful way to apologize to your loved one as well? So good. That's right at the top there. So last week, Chris and I went on a coach training with a coach that I worked with last year, Jamin. And I purely went there just like, yeah, I'm going to deconstruct the coaching models and I'm going to be an awesome coach. I'm going to pick up really, really cool resources and tools and processes and structure. And I'm so excited about it. But being in the room for 4 days, I uncovered a self-limiting belief that was still there. And still there because I'd had a new level of growth. Like, short story, I'll just like give you some context so then you'll understand how I put into place a 4-step apology. But every day our coach said, what do you want? Like, you can't try and fix anything or even identify dysfunctional patterns if you don't know what you want, because you could be doing a bunch of stuff and getting what you want, even though someone else might look in and say, oh, that's dysfunctional. But if you're getting what you want, then it's perfect. And so that question was just repeated to us all the time. We had to like spend 5 minutes writing like our silly ideas and what we want. And one of them was around just like a really healthy, nourished, connected family and being present as a mother and all that sort of stuff. And the reason why I started picking up some dysfunctional patterns was because I had noticed probably like the month leading up that I felt like I was a bit disengaged, apathetic, and kind of just delegated parenting to Chris. Now, the weird thing is, I've created in my life now space where like old Philly was addicted doer. And so like I didn't have a lot of time to emotionally be there for my kids because I'm like, got to do this, got to do that. Da, 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 da. So that was like a pattern that was showing up because of a weak and incapable, really deep and more intense belief. But then I'm like, oh, I've created all this space. Children, I'm here for you. And they didn't want me. They were just like, nah, you're not the fun parent. I want dad to put us to bed. I want dad to do, dad's your favorite. And then I'm like, oh, one part of me was like, this is great. I can just go lie down in my bed and just like read a book. I don't have to do like a whole rigmarole of putting them to bed anymore. This is awesome. But then there was a part of me that was just quite kind of jealous. And then it made me disengage because I'm like, fine, if you don't love me that much or as much as daddy, then like I'm just going to be your cook and your cleaner. And like it was all happening subtly. But anyway, so that was uncovered. I'm like, all right, well, if this is here, then there must be a belief underneath that. So every behavior has a belief underneath. And I did the whole process that you have or you're doing in the past state, uncovered this thing around not feeling like I belonged, which was a story that was part of my childhood and being the middle child. And when I uncovered that, that's not a limiting belief, but when I uncovered, oh, I think I still feel like I don't belong, I like burst out crying. It was really embarrassing, but it was just like, okay, this obviously means something. And then the belief underneath that was that I'm a bit weird, a bit odd, a bit off center, never quite like gelling with things. And to tell you the truth, guys, I'm going to be completely honest, is even when I'm doing or rocking up to group stuff, so even me taking this, and I was totally fine today because I've did the work to address it, but I just get a bit uneasy. Like it was always like, ugh, feel a bit uneasy in my belly, and that didn't happen or doesn't happen when it's a one-on-one consult. And so it was this weird thing that I didn't even feel like I belonged at my own party in my business. I didn't even feel like I belonged in my own family of 4. I definitely didn't feel like I belonged in my extended family or any other social situation because I'm just a bit weird, a bit odd, a bit awkward. So the good thing was because I'd done like the deeper unconscious belief around weak and incapable, this time around it was so much easier. It was kind of like a little bit funny and it didn't have as much angst around it. And so my 4-step apology is, well, what did I do? What did I do wrong? I made that thing. I started believing that thing when I was a kid. Like, that's a bit silly. Not silly, but that's the crime that I committed. But what I really did wrong was that I continued living that belief and that pattern for decades. And that was the more hurtful thing. Like, that was the more hurtful thing for my unconscious state. And for my like little Philly was that you have had all these opportunities to feel like you belonged and own your weirdness and you didn't. So that's what I did wrong. Why did I do it? All the best people are a bit weird. I know. Now I'm like embracing my weirdness. Thanks guys. I feel like I belong here. Even if you said that your weird is just weird, I'd be like, I still belong. Why did you do it? Well, as a kid, we have limited capacity to make meaning that is actually like useful or loving when we feel uncomfortable, which I did. And why did I continue living this belief? Well, I just didn't know. I really didn't know. I'm sure that there would have been times and signals that, oh, this is a thing, but I didn't really understand the impact that it had. So empathy, I'm so sorry that I've been thinking my weird is weird and that this has been literally blocking me out of life in the way that I want to have life. And I can see that I hurt you and I've hurt me and oh, what a big mess. And then create a believable plan that it won't happen again. Well, here I am doing the same work that I did not too long ago, and I will keep doing the work to continue loving myself and being in rapport with myself because I only know that awesome things happen when that happens. And I may stuff up, but you know, you can trust me that I'm going to get back on the bandwagon. Okay, awesome. So we're all a bit weird. I know we are. See, that's the thing too. Like that is the meaning that I made. So some other little kid, I'm pretty sure like all my siblings are weird in wonderful and beautiful ways. And especially my older sister, but she loves her weirdness. Like she claims it. Whereas I decided to think that the weirdness was weird, bad. And then it caused, you know, like basically social anxiety and disengagement as a mother. Okay. Okay, and then the last step is follow through. So you've communicated to yourself, you know what you did, you've said thanks, you've done your apology, and now it's follow through. And sometimes just doing that really beautiful, heartfelt apology to yourself is enough to turn the signal off. And that's all your unconscious state needed. And like, it is so good when that happens because it's just so easy. Sometimes, though, there might be other things that you need to do in order to reestablish rapport with yourself. I found when I was initially doing this work, there were a lot of fights with Chris that I'd broken rapport with myself. But in order for me to turn the signal off, I had to also say sorry to him. Or there were other things like, sometimes like business decisions that I was putting off or pretending wasn't an issue, and the signal stayed on until I took action around that, or until I created a game plan so that my conscious mind and unconscious mind were on the same page. Like sometimes it was like, oh, that thing will change, but I can't, or I choose not to do it yet. But this is the timeline and these are the steps I'm going to take in order to get to that point and have courage to do that. And then signal off because my unconscious state was on the same page as conscious mind. And it's like, cool. All right, great. We know the game we're playing. We're not feeling like all awkward and weird about each other because we're like this. Okay. How does that land for people? Is that helpful? This is like a bit of a nuance, and we'll probably add a little lesson in the past state that if you haven't done the 4-step apology to yourself yet around your like deepest root cause belief wound, go back and do it, because you might not get the results that are possible unless you do that. And then it's just a great way to continue having a lovely relationship with yourself. If you're tapping and writing, keep writing. I just wanted to say too that you don't have to have pain and symptoms continue if you learn the more subtle ways that your unconscious state is communicating to you. So I really like it. It's been a big chunk of 6 months where I have had no heartburn or no like histamine type stuff at all. And the last 2 days, my lovely mother-in-law made a very tomatoey casserole for when we got back, and I've been eating that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That would have caused chronic histamine issues and heartburn, and it hasn't at all, which is beautiful. And so now I notice that like my communication signals are a lot more subtle. So usually it would be like just simply a thought or a feeling, or usually I'll catch it before it gets like really chronic and painful, where it might just be like a little bit of chest tightness or diaphragm tightness. But usually it's just my mind starts going a bit like, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, okay, this is a thing. I've done something. Let's like act on this before I then end up with more body burnout symptoms. Okay. Any questions? You're welcome to come off mute too if you wanted to. Like, if anyone wants to kind of workshop this, I'm totally happy to stick around for another 15 minutes. If you feel like you've got everything that you need and you want to toddle off to get ready for bed, that is totally fine. But I'm also happy to just, workshop what we just chatted about or anything else that you're feeling a bit like confused or stuck about. Now you're making me feel a bit weird. I'm just standing here in silence. Awesome, Nicole. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. See ya. Thank you. Bye. Yay. Awesome. That's good, Jen, especially because you've just dropped in. Sometimes people are like, "Bleh," but it's awesome. Cool. Yes, I hope Chris also feels better because he's a little whiner at the moment. Yeah, cool. No worries, Rach. We'll have a little think about too to see if you can get some insights after what we've chatted about as well with the heartburn, but we can definitely chat about it on Monday. You all good, Tracy's?